Alright guys.
Look in there. Hey everybody, good morning. This is Allie. I am here at GlasWerks in Sterling, Virginia, and I'm joined by Steve. Steve,
hi, Allie.
Say hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yes.
It's perfect. I mean, usually it's a little too hot, but today just room temperature basically. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
I
and
love
the
it.
sun finally came out. We're all really excited.
Yeah,
Is this the turnout that you expected when you came?
Yeah, actually, this has been one of the biggest events this year because of, everything kind of shut down. Places that can keep it kind of safe and tight have really drawn great crowds. And I mean, incredible cars have come out here. Incredible. They've done I don't know if you've talked about it before, but they've done a Italian meet. Like a Ferrari Monza SP2 came out and a Concourse F40 and stuff. So anyway, I expect this event to be good, and it is. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
Hey, so I've known Steve for a little while. He's one of the local guys that's well known for his photography, his videography.
As a hobbyist.
As a hobbyist, he's a big car guy too. So
Yeah.
He's almost like a historian if
That's
you think about it.
That's right.
So Steve, tell us about your hobby with cars and photography and videos.
Yeah.
And how that all kind of blends in together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, DC is kind of an interesting area because you usually see it as a really buttoned down area, and mostly you see Escalades and black cars like driving around DC. But there's an incredible car scene around here, and since the 90s we've been kind of out doing stuff. People used to meet down in Manassas at the Burger King, and then we were at Macy's for a little while, and Kohl's and Chick-fil-A, and sorry I'm not holding the mic perfectly, but kind of all over the place. And it's been interesting to see the evolution of the car scene around too, especially with places like Katie's, that once it starts getting a little national exposure, people go crazy. I've done photography as a hobby pretty much, most of my adult life, and my dad, who's retired now, is out doing photography all the time, and it's something we can kind of share together. And he got me into my love of cars,
Yes.
my love of photography. Back in the day, we did film strips, like carousel film strips, but also video. And as I've gotten more, able to buy nice equipment and stuff, I've gotten really into kind of the high end of it and taken my hobby to the next level. And fortunately, I got tons of friends like you and guys out there who are really into the car scene and do cool things with super cool cars. So it's easy for me to just pop into the scene with my cameras, and it's almost, you don't even have to do anything. It's just awesome stuff. And then you figure out how to make it look interesting and different and do something kind of different than what people are doing out there. But this area really has so much opportunity for just cool stuff and really cool people in the car scene. Yeah,
Well, tell us
I love
about the different kinds of people you meet, right? You're all kind of bonded by cars.
Yeah, bonded by
But
cars.
they're all from different groups, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Well, my big thing of me personally in my life is I try to look for people who are not like me. You know what I mean? In other words, all of my, I was thinking about it the other day. I realized all my super close friends, almost none of them were born in the United States. And the awesome thing about the DC area is because of the government and government-related jobs and technology, tech stuff. I mean, people don't realize Northern Virginia is just a massive hub of the internet and data centers and stuff. We've brought in this area just people from all over the world, and they bring in the aspects of both their culture and the car culture that they really like too. So, being part of that, and I get bored really easy, so I'm always looking for like interesting new stuff, things that can kind of challenge me and things that can interest me, and that's the beauty of doing it in this area. There's just never, you show up to Katie's, I mean, it's on hiatus right now, but you show up to Katie's every week and there's going to be something you've never seen before, like almost guaranteed. It could be a 1929, Bentley, or a Stanley Steamer, or an original Cobra, or a Bugatti, or the newest whatever it is. It's awesome. So yeah, variety.
Yeah.
Variety is what I love.
That novelty keeps you coming back for more, right?
Exactly,
I love
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
mentioned it's like a really unique community here.
Absolutely.
Would you say that there's a lot of regulars, but also new people? Do you ever see like a lot of new people coming into the scene?
Tons, yeah. I mean, when I come, I've been to a lot of meets, so usually now when I go through meets, a lot of people come up. In fact, I've tried to go around a lot and take pictures, and I end up the whole meet just talking to people nonstop. people want to talk about my cameras. I carry around sometimes some crazy big lenses, and everybody wants to talk about them. And I love photography, so I end up, talking to people about cars and about photography and stuff. So there are tons of kind of OGs, like us, and people who have been coming out to meets for years, and people who've been in the car scene for, years and decades, even in the case of some people. We've got a couple friends who were driving Porsches in the early 60s who are still coming out to events now, So also tons of new people. There's always a lot of kind of turnover. There's always a lot of new people. As word spreads around, people actually drive up here from, Richmond and Fredericksburg and down from Maryland and all over the place, because they know there's like superior quality down here. It's just really, really cool. So yeah, I'd say a lot of both for sure, of kind of more regular people that you see all the time, and also a ton of new people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned that normally it's too hot for events like this, but like we absolutely hit such a sweet spot today.
Yeah.
And I know some events are still not closed, but luckily we still have, events like this open today.
Yeah.
Are you thinking it's going to be even better going into the fall?
Well, that's my personal preference, because I'm like Scandinavian, so I have a natural inclination to cooler weather. But in the fall, like Katie's, for example, and this meet too, as long as the roads are dry, people will come out. Even if it's cold, if it's clear, people will come out. And even throughout the winter, and we've been having fairly mild winters lately, people come out all year round. I mean, the thing with the car culture here is it's not really seasonal that much. It's not like, oh yeah, that was a good summer, like you go to the beach. I mean, people really live it around here. So even as the weather gets colder, as long as it stays dry and clear, I mean, people will be out every single time. Yeah.
So after the pools are closed, after it's too cold to go to the beach,
come out to car meet.
This is the place to go for the fall, the winter, where you can socialize. And yeah, it's outside, but there's also indoor options. There's like coffee we have inside here.
Hey, real quick. Hey, come here real quick.
Hey.
So I was telling you about the OGs and the guys who are actually driving Porsches in the 60s. Hey, Lou.
Hi.
This is Lou, like one of the original guys. He's a major Porsche guy with his wife Barb also, and that's right.
Lou, you love Porsches, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I see on your T-shirt.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we went for a drive on closed course around here in one of those. Yeah, it's a blast.
I'm gonna borrow my mic and say hi. We're streaming.
Hey there, everybody. Mr. Lou's here, Mr. Old Geezer Porschephile. And welcome, everybody, and have fun. And these are gorgeous cars, obviously.
Yeah, great.
Beautiful day and beautiful meat and beautiful people.
That's right.
Everybody's looking gorgeous and handsome as usual.
The top halves of our faces,
Yes,
especially,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
The bottom half, no.
Wonderful to see everybody.
Yeah, good to see you guys. All right. So anyway, these guys are great friends of mine, and just been in they're kind of super well respected, and so this is a perfect example of those guys, and then these guys walking up the street right here. I've never seen them before. Who knows who they are? I mean, maybe they are.
So
but
that's a great example of like the regulars.
yeah, exactly.
Stop
Yeah,
by, say,
that's
hey.
exactly the guy I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, Steve, it's so cool that like you have that strong community with people like Lou, and you're one of the OGs, I imagine, as well.
Yeah, I guess I would say so. I mean, my beard's turning white. So,
no, don't worry. The mask. That's the great thing about masks. Nobody knows who's OG and who isn't.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so, how have you seen the community like change or grow through the decades?
The really cool thing is that I think that a lot of one thing I would say is a lot of the kind of people who have been around for a while have realized the value of variety. Like I was talking about with variety. I mean, you've got kind of the older car culture of muscle cars and cars and stuff like that. And there's so many like interesting things out there that I think, I don't know that much about the car industry, but as car manufacturers develop new and interesting things, people bring them out here, and the really cool thing about this area is everybody kind of likes to take a look and see what's new, and everybody is interested in what's new while still respecting what's old. So with the cars and with that evolution, kind of like you're talking about, both between people and equipment and cars and all kinds of stuff. It just there's just been a huge evolution, and I guess the volume is the biggest thing that, you know, we've kind of seen grow. Just the volume, and I keep saying the word variety, but that's really what it is, you know, and that's what I love about it so much.
Yeah, you mentioned a really cool aspect that I think is really unique to the sort of car community, is that there is this reverence for the classic cars. People respect that. There's an appreciation.
Yeah.
Whereas in a lot of other more like technology industries, like that would be not as appreciated.
Like an old computer, you're like, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
People don't restore their old Macintoshes, right?
Exactly.
But people have this reverence for old cars, but then they're also like really excited to see what's new for 2020, what's coming out in 2021.
Yeah.
Like people are waiting for it, like more than like people would line around the block further than iPhones for like the new
right,
products
exactly.
that people are coming out with. So there is this really interesting balance between the respect for the classics, but then also this like anticipation for what's next.
Yeah, totally.
I don't really think you see that in a lot of other
No,
fields.
not really.
Maybe photography as well.
Yeah, with photography, I think it's interesting now too, because photography and music and stuff like that, you'll always get a group who likes to go back to kind of the analog sort of things, you know, like film photography or record players, and it's more of a niche market. Whereas with cars, it's kind of more, it's kind of just more like universally loved, I guess. You're exactly right what you said about that, you know. I mean, so in different industries, you see little groups of people who are interested in certain vintage things or older things or stuff like that. But in the car community, it is kind of universal, you know. I mean, people really, if you see an original Cobra roll through here, everybody's going to stop and check it out, you know. Or if you see, you know, like I was saying, like a Stanley Steamer show up to Katie's, people will be looking at the latest McLaren or Lamborghini, and everybody will leave and go check out the, you know, the vintage car and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of respect, there's a lot of consideration, there's a lot of love for kind of the history of cars and the history of the way these things have come together, you know. So yeah.
Speaking of history, I know that a lot of people are really fascinated by the identity of certain brands.
Yeah.
And there's this loyalty, like we saw with Lou. He's like, I'm a Ferrari file, is what he said.
Porsche
File. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
But so, do you find that, like, do you have any particular affinities or loyalties, or is that something that you see a lot?
You know, I've got the things that I liked when I was a little kid that kind of stick in my head, you know, that I'm like, you know, your favorite music, your favorite foods, your favorite cars.
Right.
You know, when I was a little kid in the 80s, we had Lamborghini posters on the wall and stuff like that. So those always kind of hold a mystique, but I'm really, like I said, I get bored easy and I like variety. So when I see something new and interesting, it almost doesn't matter to me where it's from or what it is. Like if somebody's, okay, let me phrase it this way.
Okay.
I respect people's art and what people put together.
Absolutely.
And that includes cars, that includes people, that includes art, that includes photography, that includes whatever. So if I see a Hyundai roll up and I'm like, Hyundai, I never thought of that, but it looks really cool and it's got cool tech and stuff, I don't care, you know what, like I'm not, and I think a lot of people around here are kind of like that too. Sometimes it takes a little while to get on board, but I think for the most part you see everybody really liking the famously exotic marks around here, like Ferrari and Porsches and Lamborghinis and McLarens. McLaren's made a huge jump, especially in this area, since the McLaren dealership opened. I mean, you see tons of McLarens around here, and of course those always get the attention because they're so exotic.
Right.
But again, it goes back to kind of the respect, where if somebody shows up in an older BMW with an M engine swap or something, people get excited about it, you know. So I think there's a lot of people who probably are very, I'm a Subaru guy, or, you know, or I'm a muscle car guy and I can't stand, you know, turboed small engines or exotic cars or whatever. But I think overall people just respect kind of everything that comes out. So that's from my perspective, and it's really cool to see. I've been in as an OG, I've run car groups and car clubs and stuff, and I've seen over the years how kind of territorial people can get, and it gets kind of stupid, you know. But to see the communities like have been kind of developed here in the DC and Northern Virginia area, you really don't see a lot of that. Maybe privately or on the internet or whatever, but when you come out to meets, you just don't see that manifest, you know. You just really see a lot of unity and kind of love for what we all share.
Yeah, and
together
people can
here.
have a preference or like, you know, an attachment to a certain brand, but I think what you said about appreciating it as an art form is really a universal thing that anybody can appreciate, even if it's not like you know, their thing.
Yeah.
People just, and I think a lot of people are like you and just appreciate the variety of it, and like even if it's not usually in their wheelhouse, they kind of want to check it out. And then, you know, and then like broaden their horizons. It's a really interesting thing because it's such a specific sort of industry, like where you really get into the specs. If you know look down the line,
you can get very deep.
You can go way down that rabbit hole. But then people
exactly.
are also interested, it seems like, learning about, you know, things that they don't know about broadening their knowledge, not just deepening it.
Well, I'll tell you something cool about about going deep is all of a sudden you realize fundamentally everybody's kind of the same. You know what I mean? With cars and with people too. You know, at the end of the day, you're like, okay, they use the same type of mechanisms to steer the car, and the engines work basically the same way, and you know, everything's kind of about the same. It's just a little bit different way to present it, or to feel it, or to, you know, or artistically to look at it. And you can tie that really into the people too. Like everybody here fundamentally, we like cars, like the bottom line. Or maybe you don't, and you just like to look at shiny things. You know, whatever the case is, you're here because you're interested in something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Steve, you are a photographer slash philosopher slash.
Right.
What can't you do?
Yeah, I'll try anything.
Yeah, I'll try anything twice, especially if I'm bad at it.
There you go.
Especially if it's bad for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Just for the novelty of it, like you were saying. Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, to kind of nutshell everything, just variety of people, of cars, of activities. Besides meets like this, you know, there are a lot of kind of private drives, and Skyline Drive, Shenandoah, is just like an hour from here. So you can get out and drive up through the Maryland countryside. You know, it's just, DC is pretty congested, but you can get out of here a little bit, and there's a lot of things to do. So I think that lends itself well to the car community as well, because there are opportunities for extracurricular type activities and just bonding and people, you know, hanging out together. And at the end of the day, it is all about the people here. Because if you're rolling up in a car, it means something to you. If you're willing to share it with people and to show it off and to talk about it and to, you know, explain things to people, it really means you care about it. And like me, getting back a little bit into the photography aspect too, with photography, that's the thing that draws me to it, is I care about it. Like if I'm doing landscapes, it's because I think it's beautiful. I'm just amazed by it. Or if I'm taking portraits of people, like I just have this might not be the right word, but kind of obsession with people, in the sense that I find people just amazing and beautiful and interesting and fascinating. And through photography, just like through cars, you know, you can kind of explore what makes them unique. You can explore what makes people different. I mean, you know, you look around here and you're like, oh, look, here's a bunch of people. But every single person here, just like every single car here, has some kind of story and some kind of back thing. And, sorry, I'm like talking like a million things here, but
I'm on the edge of my metaphorical seat.
Well, the thing about it is, you know, everybody here has a story too, and every car here has a story. And as a hobbyist photographer and videographer and whatever I do, or just a person walking around meeting people and looking at cars, the coolest thing, and I don't think people really think about it this way, but when you come to meets here, you're almost like an investigator, or like you know, searching something out, and you're hearing stories and you're learning stuff. Even if you didn't intend it, or you don't even think about it that way, you know, you're gonna leave something like this because of the variety of people, because of the variety of cars. You're going to come away from something like this, not just, oh cool, I went to a car meet, but you're like, man, I saw this and I learned about that, and this guy, you know, showed me, and I made a couple new friends today and stuff. And you know, I've been doing that in this area for years, and it's just, the other day I was thinking about it, and I was like, I know you look on like Facebook or whatever, and you're like, oh, I got 1,000 friends. And I was like, I legitimately have like tons of friends that I've met through the car world that we go out to dinner. We hang out, we talk online all the time, like legitimate friends. And that bonding experience happens through a shared love. I'm getting like way over deep here. But when you go on like a dating app or something, right? You're like, oh, what do we share in common? And they match you up. Well, here, if you're here, you already checked one of the boxes. You know what I mean? Like, I like cars. I like hanging out with people. I like beautiful days. I like looking at, I mean, you're already checking off a lot of those boxes. So it's just, there's just a unity. Variety, unity. We're getting buzzwords here today.
Themes.
Variety and unity and shared love of things, So yeah, I mean, shoot, I didn't even realize I could talk about this much, but this is really like it really does mean a lot. I mean, these things you think of them just like, oh, cool, there's a car meet, but when you and we've kind of dove a little bit deeper into it, you realize fundamentally there's some really cool stuff here,
Yeah.
and you can really go away with some real interesting stuff, and you just gain and grow.
Yeah,
wow,
I love it
you
when-
do.
So Steve here has a rich history, obviously, right? So we're gonna.